evening and welcome to the August 11th meeting of the Riverside Unified School Board District's Board of Trustees meeting. You're all welcome. I do want to, we've just come out of closed session. Before I go there, any of our attendees that would like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda, which will come up under Section B in just a little while, there are cards right there in the back. If you would fill those out and just bring them up here to Mrs. Anderson over here in the corner, that would be great. Thank you, Brent. The board did meet in closed session and made some decisions on hiring that were recommended by Dr. Hanson. I'll ask Dr. Hanson to introduce those folks and the new additions to our district staff.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt, and I am really excited to welcome 6 new individuals to the management team. And as your name's read, if you'd please stand up and remain standing so we can all get a good look at you and welcome you to the team. First off, a new assistant principal at Pachapa Elementary School is Kathleen Dabrowski. Kathleen comes to us from, most recently, the Hoopa Unified School District, where she has served for a number of years, and welcome. The second is Jeanette Prescott, new assistant principal at Lake Matthews Elementary. And Jeanette is homegrown and has been in the district for several years. Welcome, Jeanette. The next one, also from Riverside, at the assistant principal at Emerson Elementary, is Tasia Churchwell. Christy Jackson comes to us from Hesperia. She's the assistant principal at Gage Middle School. Welcome. Tiffany Ferris, another longtime Riversider. She will be the assistant principal at Mark Twain Elementary School. And last but certainly not least is Reggie Royster. Reggie's going to be the new assistant director for mechanical and communications trade in our district. And again, it just is my privilege to recommend to the board and for them to take action on these fine individuals, and we welcome you to Riverside. Thank you.
Thank you all. And thank you, Assistant Superintendent Mills and your staff for heading up these searches. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Royster, I recall that you were a member of the United States Air Force, serving for 9 years our country. If you would come up and lead us in the pledge, I'm sure we'd all appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Royster. Oh, okay. Vote was approved 4-0. We now come to Section A, which is our district superintendent's, Dr. David Hanson's report. Dr. Hanson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hunt. And as you all know, we're getting really close to start the school year up, and we have a lot of events coming up in the very near future. The first one is this Friday. We call it the Manager Symposium. All the managers, both certificated and classified, will be joining and coming together at Central Middle School for a day of a discussion, collaboration, team building, focus on the new school year vision, things such as that, and meeting their new superintendent and all the new colleagues that are going to join us. And then later that evening from 6 to 8 p.m., we're going to have a chance to come together at the new Aquatic Center at Poly High School and have, again, a meet and greet, and spouses and significant others have been invited to attend. So we really look forward to welcoming all the new managers back as we start the new school year, and that'll take place this Friday, the 15th. Then on the 18th, which is Monday, we have a new employee welcome. All those new to the school district will be back at Central Middle School in the morning. And I know that the board has been invited to come, and you're certainly encouraged to stop by and meet all the new employees that we are joining the RUSD family. And then, of course, the first day of school is just 2 weeks away, August the 25th. And we'll be having all 45,000 students come and join us. And here we go for the new 14-15 school year, and really pleased with the staff for how hard they've worked. and they're getting ready for that. And of course, I kind of skipped over, but you can hear a little bit more. But we do have the professional development days are also coming up, and I'd like to actually invite our chief academic officer,
Dr. Hanson, and I just am reminding you again, so you could see my face again this board meeting, about the 19th and 20th, our professional development days. And in your packets, you should have received some information. And in the packet of information, you'll see the agendas for each of the sites, but also exactly what's occurring at those sites at the mail out. Okay? You will also, this next week, as it is completed, you'll receive a little toolkit. So this is coming up that looks like a credit card, but it's actually a pin drive for your computer. And you'll see the opening video where Dr. Hanson is welcoming all of our teachers and providing a message for the upcoming year. Also some talking points as well, so you'll be receiving that next week. I also want to congratulate our adult education program, Mr. Dawson. They received a 6-year accreditation visit with a one-day review, so that's a fabulous job for him. I know how challenging WASC visits are. They're really great for the community, so I thought we might recognize that. It's terrific. One other thing I wanted to mention that's really good for technology integration is that we've improved some infrastructure at 6 of our schools this summer, and it's Arlington, King, Pauley, EOC, and then also Gage and Miller. So that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carmenday. And last, I'd like to invite Dr. Kirk Lewis up and talk to us a little bit about Assembly Bill 2235. Some of you may have heard about this. It's a possibility of a general obligation bond to be on the upcoming election. It would be set aside, if I remember right, $9 billion for K through 12 education, and then $3 billion for higher education. And Dr. Lewis is going to share with us just if it does get on the ballot, what does that mean? And if it does pass, what are the implications for Riverside Unified? So, Dr. Lewis.
Dr. Hanson, thank you for the opportunity to provide this brief Reader's Digest summary. AB 2235 is simply legislation to put a bond on the ballot for school construction. The details on the bond have not been worked out. In fact, the exact amounts and the exact program in terms of how the funds would be allocated are not indicated. Currently, the Assembly bill has passed the Assembly. It'll probably pass the next group as well. The real battling point, though, is the governor. As most of you know, the governor's been really prudent about adding more commitments to the general fund, and that's what happens when you add bonds of this type. So he's not real supportive of any type of legislation of this type or bonds that would add more general fund obligation. There's also a water bond that is likely to be on the ballot, and he sees that as potential competition with the school facilities bond. So it's doubtful he's going to support whether it passes both legislatures. In terms of Riverside Unified, as you know, with Measure B, we've been able to leverage our Measure B funds with all state funds that we could go after in terms of modernization funding. We have basically used up the eligibility out of all the schools and have modernized them to the extent possible with Measure B funds as our local match. Of course, as schools hit 25 years of age, which is one of the major criteria for being able to modernize a facility, we will incrementally be able to incrementally modernize certain buildings that reach that mark, or schools that hit 25 years of age. But by and large, we're in very good shape from a modernization standpoint. The other major component of school facilities bonds are new construction. Since the economic downturn, enrollments at school districts across California have either stayed the same or they've declined. And for that reason, new construction, there's just not a big demand on that at this point, but eventually we'll see that turnaround. And as we have opportunities to either add additional buildings at school sites or a possible elementary school in the near future, those would be funds that we could secure, but we'll need a local bond as our local match for that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Thank you, Dr. Lewis. You know, and again, from what I understand and talking to Mr. Fine and other folks in Sacramento, if the governor had to sign today, he wouldn't sign it. And so we're watching very closely. We have our contacts up there and folks that we'll continue to talk to, and we'll certainly keep the board here in Riverside updated as that moves forward. The last thing from my report is just, I know that there are several people here this evening because there's 3 different presentations that the board's going to be seeing later today. We have a presentation from our charter school REACH. We have a presentation for early childhood development. And we also have an update for the board on our summer projects that have been happening at the facilities. And I know that a lot of work goes in the presentations. And so as superintendent, as the board, we thank you. We're grateful that you're here and the work that you've put in. And we look forward to seeing those presentations later this evening. So that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hanson. Is there any questions from the board for Dr. Hanson in that part? Thank you, Dr. Hanson. We now come to the public input. I don't have any cards, do I? All right, so we'll move ahead to District Employee Group Report from Mr. Tim Martin, President of the Riverside City Teachers Association. Mr. Martin, welcome.
Good evening, Vice President Hunt, Dr. Hanson, and members of the board. Last week, you all received a link from me sharing a video discussing the results of the 2012 Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, given to 15-year-old students in the countries who comprise the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. First world economically developed countries make up the 34 countries of OECD. I shared that link with you for 3 reasons. First, I think it's important to analyze carefully the results of that assessment and not just take at face value what is reported by the press. The press reports that the United States ranks 26 out of 34 in the overall PISA rankings. However, there's much more to the story. If you viewed the video, you know that when American students of similar poverty rates are compared to their counterparts in the countries who comprise OECD with the same rates of poverty, our students score either at the top or near the top in every category. For example, United States students who attend schools with less than a 10% poverty rate, when compared to students in countries with a comparable poverty rate, ranked at the top of that list. The same is true when comparing students in schools with poverty rates of 10% to 25%, 26% to 50%, and 51% to 75%. When comparing apples to apples, students in our public education system compare well to students in other countries of the OECD. Second, I wanted you to hear some of the findings and/or recommendations of the 2012 PISA conclusions in terms of what we are doing in our own district. This study recommends directing greater resources to children with greater poverty. Many of the decisions recommended through the LCAP process and approved by you did exactly that, making students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, foster children, or English learners a priority in the expenditure of funds. The study also recognizes that the countries with the best overall results have longer professional days for their teachers. These countries provide more time to plan, collaborate with their colleagues, and meet with parents. Last year, you all approved lengthening the professional day of teachers 15 minutes for exactly this purpose this school year, and then 15 more minutes next school year. Countries with the best PISA results also provide effective professional development so all teachers are well prepared and supported. In addition to bargaining district-wide staff collaboration time every week, this school year will start with 2 additional professional development days for the purpose of helping to effectively implement Common Core. Finally, the OECD recommends a strong partnership with teachers' unions. The last year in particular, the relationship between RCTA and district management has been a very positive one. We have worked well together to find common ground for the good of our students on multiple issues. RCTA looks forward to continuing this positive relationship. The third point made by the summary of the PISA results of 2012 is not a positive one. The PISA results demonstrate there is a growing achievement gap in countries with higher rates of poverty. This is especially true of the United States. I understand that this point isn't a new one. However, I bring it up because it is important for us to consider all the practices that impact teaching and learning and can help to close the achievement gap for our students in RUSD. The RCTA Executive Board will be doing exactly that this weekend. We'll be setting goals and considering ways in which we can help to improve the achievement of all our students, but especially those facing significant challenges in their lives and their learning. As has been a practice each year, we choose a theme by which to drive our efforts for the year. For example, last year's theme was Our Union for Good. Our work this weekend will be consistent with our theme for this year, RCTA, a student-centered union. I look forward to continuing this discussion with you as we work together to improve the conditions of teaching and learning for the good of all of our students. Thank you. Any
Thank you,
questions?
Mr. Martin. A student-centered union. I like that.
A student-centered union.
Very good.
That's right.
I should mention to everyone if there's any questions of clarification for Mr. Martin from the board. I'm sorry, Ms. Cloud. Mrs. Cloud has a question for you, Mr. Martin.
I just want to affirm your conclusions. I'd be the first to admit we have a long way to go, but you know, it does make a difference. We educate all students, and I used to, look at Finland and China and some others and think, wow, how do they do so well? Well, they don't do what we do, and so it makes a difference. And I agree with you, and I'm glad you're bringing that up. We need to compare apples to apples.
Right.
Agreed.
And it was especially, for me, it was especially encouraging to read the recommendations and recognize, hey, we're doing that. Oh, we did that too. Oh, we're doing that as well. And it just felt very, very positive. And I know there's still more that we can do together, but it was affirming of the work we do together. So.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cloud. Sorry I missed that. If there's anyone, by the way, in the audience that those three presentations that Dr. Hanson referred to, if you want to speak to those, be sure to fill out a card in the back. Give it to Ms. Anderson. The next item is consent calendar, which the board and the staff put together, considered to be routine and acted in one motion, unless there is someone who someone wants to pull an item. Is there any item to be pulled by the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Allaby. I have a motion. And do I have a second?
Second.
Cloud Lee. And all in favor, vote now. It's approved 4-0. I neglected to, you're wondering why I'm sitting here. Mrs. Locke Dawson, our able president, is with her family winging their way to Iceland for a family vacation. All right, we move on now to our reports and discussion. And first up, Dr. Hanson, I'm understanding your deputy superintendent will present an update from the Reach Leadership Academy School of Math, Science, and Technology. Welcome, Mr. Fine.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Hunt, Dr. Hanson, members of the board. My role in this is very straightforward. I'm going to invite Gloria Catter to the podium to give you just a short introduction, and then we'll turn it over to Dr. Renty.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mr. Hunt, Dr. Hanson, and members of the board. As you know, in February of 2012, the Board of Education authorized Reach Leadership Academy School of Math, Science, and Technology. Dr. Virgie Renty, Chief Executive Officer of the charter school, is here tonight to provide you with a report on the school's second year of operation. Her report will include information on enrollment, facilities, budget, challenges that they have faced, and new initiatives for 14-15. After her brief presentation, Dr. Renty will be available to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Renty.
Hello. So we're totally off guard right now because we were expecting to be here till 9. I don't know, but thank you. We're excited. I think half of our people will show up at 6. I'm sorry about that. So that's what we get, right? So I thank you for allowing us to be here today. I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, Mr. Lee, but it's great to see you and our new superintendent. I'm very glad to be here. I just want to make sure this thing, I thought I had time to figure out how it works, but I think I got it. All right, starting off. So I am Dr. Virgie Rentie, and I am the executive director.
Let me ask you, Dr. Rentie, do you have other people coming that you feel are essential to your
Yeah,
presentation?
well, they were coming, yes.
Is it
As you
part
can see,
of
I'm a
your
little flustered. We thought we were on E on the list, but I have no problem with going forward.
We have a young parent now. We're not allowed to go to 9 anymore. So, are these people that are not here, are they essential to your presentation?
No, they're just support in the audience, so it's perfectly fine. I'll gather myself as we go forward. It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have to give my presentation to the beginning here. Apologize. So again, good evening, Mrs. Cloud and Mr. Hanson, and obviously it's good to meet you as well, and all of our distinguished, and I'm saying Cloud, and you're Cloud over here. Hi, Mrs. Cloud. I'm still gathering myself. How are you? It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Virgie Rentie, and I'm one of the founders and the executive director at Reach Leadership Academy, and I'm here to present our annual update. So I'd like to start with our vision and mission. So Reach Leadership Academy was a school that was founded in this district back February of 2012, only a few years ago, but it feels like it's been a lifetime as one of the founding members. But we've seen a lot of growth and a lot of wonderful things happen over the last couple of years. We are a STEAM academy. We came in as a math, science, technology focus. We also have an art focus, and we have incorporated engineering, and we feel like STEAM is definitely a word that signifies what it is we actually do every day. And I'm here to provide, and like I said, represent our board members and provide an update to let you know where we are as a charter school. We focus on the sciences, and one of our goals and missions as a school is to make sure we close the achievement gap for underserved students. One of the ways we do that is just through community support, collaboration with our parents. We have an extended day and a lot of other wonderful programs that I'll walk you through as we go forward. Where do it? Doesn't want to. I had it moved the first time. There we go. So we've come a very long way. We started back in September 2012. We opened our door with 77 students. We were shaking in our boots because we knew we needed at least 100 students or more just to be able to be sustainable and to operate. 77 students on your first day as a charter school with very little reserves was very, very frightening. Today, presently, though, going from that day until now, we are currently oversubscribed. We have full enrollment in every grade level. We're oversubscribed and needed to go to a lottery back in May. And we currently have over 330 students enrolled for next year. And that's from TK, transitional kindergarten, all the way to 4th grade. We started off our first year as a TK through 2nd grade. And every year we add on an additional grade level. So next year we will actually go into 4th grade, which we're very, very excited about. We have a waiting list of over 50 students. We have enough students waiting to get in from kinder. We can actually open an additional kinder class if we wanted to, but that's not part of our growth plan. But we have quite a few people interested. We get calls every day, and we don't advertise. It's all word of mouth, so we're really excited about that. We are a very unique school, and I'd like to describe our demographics. And one second here. So in terms of demographics, the board had hoped that we would have a culturally diverse background. That was our goal. That was our hope. We wanted it to reflect, our world at large. And we got more than we bargained for. We're really excited. I believe that we might be one of the most ethnically and economically diverse campuses, maybe in Riverside and even contiguous areas. I'm not sure. I haven't done the math, but just visually. We have about 37% of our students that are Hispanic, 28% that are Caucasian, 25% African American, and 10% others. And when you walk through, it almost seems like a balance of everyone. It's pretty amazing. Our students wear uniforms, and we're all same level playing field. Everyone's the same, and it's really awesome to see all of us together heading toward the same goal. We have approximately 45% of our students that are out of district, actually, so only 55 for students in district. So we have students coming from Moreno Valley, Corona, Lake Elsinore, Hemet, and other places. So they're coming out of district to our school. We have about 12% English learners, and 45% of our students are free reduced lunch. In terms of grade levels, as we said, we began with TK. We now, next year, will serve transitional kindergarten through 4th. And we have a dedicated TK program, which is completely full with 20 students. It's a pretty amazing program. All of our TK students last year moved up to kindergarten at proficiency or above. So pretty excited about that. One of the things that's unique about our program is that we have a longer instructional day and a longer year. So we have 345 instructional minutes in kinder and about 340 instructional minutes in 1st through 4th. And so during our day, we've elongated our day so we have time for dedicated PE, we have time for intervention throughout the day, and other programs that wouldn't be available to us if we had a shorter day. We also have a longer year. And our students start right after Labor Day on the 2nd, and we'll go through the end of the school year, end of June, so that's 185 days a year. We also have a foreign language program as well. So during our ELD block, for 35 minutes we do it every day, we also have our RTI component, and for students that are proficient or above, they have exposure to an elementary foreign language program in in Spanish and Mandarin. So moving on to our student activities. So our students work really, really, really hard. So as parents, staff, teachers, we try to bring the fun. So we do a lot of things that are fun. So we do the Red Ribbon Week, which is really fantastic, and our students do things every day. They come dressed up in the crazy sock day, the things you would expect for Red Ribbon Week, and we have a great time. We participated in the Great Shakeout like everyone else in California, hopefully. We do Read Across America, and we had individuals from the community come in and read to our students, which was pretty fantastic. We also spent a month in February celebrating Black History and culminated with a big Black History celebration, and it was pretty fantastic, where our students performed and they learned all month about, African Americans and their contribution to this country and those sorts of things, which was pretty great. We also do Cinco de Mayo, a great celebration that our PTO parents put on. We have a great spring performance in the evening once a year, and it's pretty spectacular, and we pack out the place. Is pretty awesome. And this year we decided to do an art and science expo. So our first year we had we did a science fair, and we're a pretty young school, so science fair for 1st and 2nd graders is not easy. But we thought this year we would do something differently. Instead of taking the science projects home, we had them actually do project-based learning in class, and we had the students. It was student-driven. They decided as their group what particular science project or problem they wanted to pursue, and the teachers facilitated that work. And at the end of the year, we put on an expo, and we invited parents and people from the community to come in and see the work that the students had actually produced. And in conjunction with that, we do Meet the Masters for Art, it's an art history program, which is pretty phenomenal. It's starting in kindergarten. So our students have been doing art and learning about various artists from the beginning of the school year. So by the time we came to the end of the year, we had quite a bit of art in our stockpile. So we actually, one of our classified employees actually teaches the art for us, and we put up a big art gallery and had the science expo, packed the place out. Students were very, very proud, and it was pretty phenomenal. Got a lot of great feedback for that. We also, in addition to the things that we try to do for fun, we have what we call, well, the PTO tabled this, or call this the fun-ucational activities. So activities that are fun, but obviously educational. So our second and third graders, we were able to send them to La Sierra University on an archaeological dig, which was pretty phenomenal. It was actually student-centered and had a nice balance between student-driven and, instructional-driven, I guess, activities. It was very hands-on. It looked very authentic. Our students had a really amazing time, learned a lot. It's something that we'll intend to continue to do. Very, very good program. So our students went to La Sierra University for that. We had the wizard lizard come in with, live demonstration of animals. We took some of our students to USC on a campus tour, a couple of our classes for that. The municipal water district came in and was able to do some engineering activities with our students, took our students to Legoland and those sorts of things. And so those are the things that we try to bring in to break up the monotony a little bit, let the students know that, learning is fun and this is part of the real world, see that real world connection. And I wasn't on the fun educational page. I wasn't, but you were. Okay, here we go. So, and in addition to that, we also have our service projects. So we have a leadership focus, and we have 5 core values, which are leadership, excellence, responsibility, resilience, and we added service. So part of our service project, we'd like to ultimately take it to the community and take the students out to the community when feasible or when we can. This year we decided there was so much going on, as you can imagine, a second-year school. We decided to do things in-house, and we were able to participate and give, food baskets for Thanksgiving to our families and communities, our local families at Reach. We participated in Spark of Love for Toy Drive. Jump Rope for Heart, our students were able to earn over $3,000 for that, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society over $1,100. So those are the ways that we involve our students in the community as well, and we were able to give back in ways that help to supplement and I think bring to life what it is we're teaching our students on a regular basis. In addition to that, we have other features, and some of them I've already mentioned. So we have Pearson for our language arts, and so it is Common Core aligned. We do reading streets. Our Singapore math program is something we've continued to do, which is pretty phenomenal, mastery-based system in math. They've now added we actually switched vendors and are going with Houghton Mifflin because it's pretty comprehensive now with the integration of technology as well. We have the RTI, the foreign language, the Meet the Master's Art program. We have our leadership that includes our core values. In terms of professional development, we have quite a bit going on. Our teachers will tell you maybe way too much because there's so much that we have to get everyone on the same page in such a short period of time being so new. We implement DIBELS, and we do a lot of DIBELS training. So we every year take our teachers through DIBELS training, but we also go through we train teachers to come back and implement DIBELS as well. We have, with our DIBELS training with the teachers this year, we also focused more on progress monitoring. So it's not just enough to give the assessment, we need to make sure it's effective. So that's something that it took a while, but once we started implementing that entire idea of we've got to stop, we've got to monitor progress, and we have to continue to make sure we're meeting our goals or adjust our instruction as needed, we found that it really made a significant difference academically as well and with our scores on our DIBELS composite scores. Also, we've moved to small groups, and so we needed to get our teachers this summer. We sent them on training that included some small group instruction and ideas on how to implement and looking at best practices, and some project-based learning ideas, because for the Art Expo, I just said do it, and then we'll train you later. And so then in the summer, we had some project-based learning, hands-on activities, so our teachers will be more empowered and ready to go back and teach next year. We also we're up on Google Docs, which we're totally excited about, and it's helping us in a lot of ways. And then we have something that we're moving toward, which is called WHAM. It's we're writing about math, and so we always look at best practices. And there is a charter school that actually does this on Wednesdays. They stop their math program and literally take apart what we call a word problem and dissect it and literally take, the entire math time on maybe 1 or 2 word problems and showing the students how to walk through that process. And so this is every Wednesday that I've challenged my 3rd and 4th grade teachers to begin to do that kind of a in-depth look at problem solving. In terms of new initiatives, we are up on Illuminate. So it's a student data assessment or based system where it allows our teachers to house all the academic, their report cards and student achievement data online, but we also can share that with parents. And so starting with the last semester, we're ready for going into this year. Parents get a login, a password to be able to view their students' progress, in real time. No longer waiting until mid-quarter or trimester to find out how their students are doing. They can see that immediately. So we have that. We're a Project Lead the Way school. We're really excited. We're piloting their new launch program. There's about 12 modules that we'll be piloting for that. And then we have Dibbles Math, which is, again, new. We just wanted to make sure we have our common assessments in math for Singapore Math, but Singapore Math is so different. It's hard to compare apples and oranges. So we wanted to see how our students would do on Dibbles Math assessments, just so that we can make sure we're making progress like we think we are. In terms of facilities, we began at Mount Rubidoux the first 2 years. We have currently outgrown that school site. Today we opened up today actually at our new site. We're currently at Riverside Community Church on Harupa. So we've moved a little ways, not very far, but in a different demographic area as well. So we're at Riverside Community Church for this year, and we've already started breaking ground and working on moving our entire facility over to Grace United Methodist Church near UC Riverside. They have this huge field that they haven't really ever utilized, and so we've entered into a contract with them for 6 years because we need 1 year of conditional use permit and all that. So 6 years, and so we'll be able for when we move in next July, remain there for basically 5 years, which will allow us to grow, and we don't have that stress of wondering where we're going to be every year. So we're really excited about that. And our new facility at Riverside Community Church, they've had schools there. They currently have a preschool there as well. Classrooms are large. It's really great. We're spreading our wings a little bit, but we'll be glad when we're able to move and stay concrete or stay stationary for a few years. So in terms of challenges, growth is a challenge. It's a great thing, obviously in the long run, but in the short run, it's difficult because it always causes us to be out of balance in terms of short term with our financing. So gap financing is an issue, always the first part of the year, and then when funding catches up, we tend to balance out. But growth is a challenge because of its growth, and you're adding new teachers every year, and you're adding the students every year, and you're still getting paid for the first 6 months, or being, not paid, but your revenue for the first 6 months still reflects your capacity for the last year. So very difficult to negotiate, but that's where we are. So gap financing is always something we're always looking for and looking to do. So being such a new school in our second year, at least last year, we weren't really in a position to look for your traditional financing. So we tend to pay a lot more for the money that we actually do borrow. However, going into the third year and being in a stronger financial position, we're hoping to be able to find something a little more traditional in terms of being able to get loans just to help us make it through the rough times. What we're no longer challenged with is that enrollment, so 77 kids on the first day. Facility, we've now kind of tackled that for the next few years. And then staffing, which I didn't mention before, but the first year was like a handful of us and me doing the job of 20 people. And so last year I did the job of 10. So now this year I'm excited because I believe I'll be able to do, delegate more of what I've been having to do for the last couple of years. So staffing is no longer a challenge, so we're really excited. We used to have this long list, and so it's getting shorter. In terms of budget, I have a few notes. I'm going to get on the same page. So with the May revise, a lot of great things happened to schools in general, I think, with maybe good and bad, but for us, we saw immediate relief with the May revise, and saw that 30% decrease of the gap between last year's funding and then the target funding, and to see that additional money come in has actually been quite helpful for a small school like us. Not having deferrals all year was tremendous, and we qualified for a June deferral that we actually needed to actually apply for, just to make sure we continue to pay our bills on time. Trying to get this to move. So it doesn't want to go down. So our deferrals, obviously, it's positive not having those. And then regarding the Common Core funding, our budget doesn't even calculate what that is, because I think at the time our budget was constructed, the vote, there wasn't, hadn't been approved at the state level, and so that wasn't even calculated in our budget. But our budget currently assumes 328 students. We're over that, but that's okay. And we will qualify for SB 740 financing. We're eligible for that because of our new location, which will reimburse up to 75% of our lease, which is extremely helpful. And our budget assumes an ADA of 315 students, which is about 96% attendance rate. And our ending fund balance, which blew us all away for the next year coming up, is $258,000, like over 12% of revenue, which of our expenses. So we're just pretty excited about that, because we know charter schools that don't get there in 5 years. We're like, we don't know how we got there, but we're really excited. We know we're trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible. We have an amazing back office company that works with us, and we work, closely with our USD as well, and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. It's really excited, like in 3 years, to end up at least in the black. And this past year, we ended up with 5% revenue, which the first year we barely scraped by. I think we were in the red, some percentage or something. So just to see that turnaround in such a short period of time is pretty exciting. As far as compliance, compliance is everything. When we were researching opening a charter school, we were seeing some that were closing, and it wasn't because the parents didn't love it. Parents love the program. Students love the program. But when you would look a little deeper, it had something to do with compliance issues. So we knew if we were going to be sustainable and be around for a long time, we had to get that right. So we chose to, and I don't know any other charter school, at least other than the one in this district, that actually is on Aries, but that was one of the best things that we decided to do, was stick with the Aries student information system. We also report through the district. So Angela McKinney, we work with her team, fantastic. We do our special ed through the district. We're a school of the district for special ed services, but that also helps us as a small charter school to make sure we're compliant in that area. With regards to the Smarter Balance Assessment, we did take the field test this past spring, and coughed up money for 30 Chromebooks. We only had 30 students, but we wanted to make sure they all had the technology in their hand. We're starting WASC accreditation going into this new year as well. We still have our back office support, which is EdTech, and we've renewed our contract with them through the end of our charter, which is another 2 years, I believe, 3 years. And we completed our LCAP, and then the beginning of the year through the end of the year, or the end of next year coming up, I'll work with the teachers, all of our stakeholders, to look at what we said we were going to do, make sure we're doing that, and make sure we're making adjustments as needed. And then also our attendance reports. We work really hard with the district, our attendance clerk, and our back office to make sure we're getting those reports in on time. Lastly, we've been able to see, just some of my final comments, see a lot of growth in our students, starting off with I just wasn't seeing the progress that I thought we should see. I wanted to see in a charter school. We didn't come here to just do the same as everyone else. We have to we already know we have to do better. So I didn't see the growth, and so we challenged our teachers to move to small group instruction mid-year, which is very difficult to do. No one wants to change like that. So we moved them into small groups mid-year, not even mid, February. And immediately we saw a difference in academic achievement with our students, because those few students in the back that never answer and that are, hiding out, weren't able to hide out once they had to look face to face with their teacher every day and be accountable for the work. And so where we saw we were struggling with watching our DIVLS assessment, kind of struggling middle of the year, by the end of the year we saw a lot of growth. So for instance, at the end of the year, our kinder teachers hit 93% of our students were benchmark. For first grade, 75% were benchmark, and they came up from a huge deficit at the middle of the year. And in second grade, for Dibble's benchmark, 85% of those students were at benchmark, which is pretty tremendous. Third grade was really rough. We had a teacher change and some things happened in that class. It was really, really tough. So middle of the year, Dibble's assessments, they were, I think about 55% of the students were at benchmark. And they didn't look like they were making any progress. But we were able, when we changed to small group instruction, adjusted our instruction, looked at what we were doing in intervention, we were able to take it from 55% at benchmark to 65% at benchmark. So, of course, next year we're raising the bar for, those students as well, but at least now we know what those things that work. We're starting to codify who it is that we are and focusing more, and we're really pleased with the direction we're going in. So Smarter Balance will take, the Smarter Balance assessment for the first time with our third and fourth graders. And then we're moving to Dibble's math data, just so that I can have something when I come back, I can say, well, if I say this is how we're doing on Singapore math, I don't know. But if I say, well, this is what we're doing in Dibble's, and it's pretty, it's a national, maybe something that can be measured at any level, and I can measure that against national data, or, it would be phenomenal. So those are things I'd like to bring back. It's an amazing opportunity to work in this capacity. Our staff coming in this year, all I hear is we're just so excited. Because, the first 2 years, you feel like you don't know what you're doing and where are you going and what is this all about. But now I feel like we're really starting to gel and go in a really good direction. So thank you for allowing us to exist and be here and for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And before I open it up for questions, I do want to say that you're all extremely welcome to stop by and see our new site, come and see our students, and maybe what I'll do is invite you more. If you can't come, you can't come, but I'll start shooting those emails out to you to see if maybe one day you'll stop on by. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Renee. We do have some questions. Before I go there, Ms. Cotter, can I ask you just to remind the board, we know that Dr. Renee used to come here once a year. What is our job in working with you to assure that this charter school is meeting the challenges and the commitments they made to us in 2012?
Sure. We have oversight responsibilities, and I do the programmatic oversight, and I visit Dr. Renty often and walk the classrooms. I'm there for any kind of issues that she has. Sandy Meekins and her team works with them on budget and make sure that the reports are turned in on time. She works with Annette Alvarez. Yeah, Annette Alvarez with also attendance and things like that. She works with Angela McKinney. She's worked with Dan Patterson. So we do have some oversight responsibilities for Reach Charter School.
Thank you, Ms. Cloud.
Thank you.
Our first question is, Dr. Rennie, is from Trustee Gail Cloud.
Actually, I have a couple of questions, but you can just give me a quick answer.
Okay.
I think one is your contact information. Is that on your website or your email?
It is. If you go to our website, actually, and you see the tab across the top, it has a contact tab, and you hit on the tab, and it has it has our address, our phone number, our fax number, and also has like a complaint procedure. It won't come to my head right now, but all that's on that contact page.
So if I Googled Reach, I'd find you.
Yep.
Okay. Do you do any kind of training in cooperation with RUSD, teacher training or principal training?
I have not. I would love to, but I have not. Mm-hmm.
Have you been invited?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Gloria. We do BITSA. I apologize. So our teachers,
do?
yes, they do, as a matter of fact. And actually, it was a pretty, thank you, sorry. It was a pretty phenomenal program. I got a lot of good feedback from BITSA. So we had all of our new teachers actually went through BITSA last year, and they're continuing to go through for next year, yes.
Okay, and I like the Singapore math outreach that you have. That's good. You're getting your feet wet, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
And my last question is, who's on your board?
Meaning who as in their names or individuals? Or so we have two parents that were just elected to the board back in June, and we'll start with our new board August. Our next meeting is next Monday. We have all of our founding members are still on the board. And so some of them had a 2-year appointment and some had a 3. So the ones that had the 2-year appointment, they've already been up for election again. And then we have some coming up at the end of this fiscal year, school year rather, and they will be up for election as well. And then we open up the election. It's in our handbook, or not a handbook, in our newsletter, and we open that up to anyone that wants to run. But we reserve 2 seats for parents, and this year we were able to actually seat 2 parents.
And how many other members, what?
Oh, okay, so we have 9 board members and 2.
2 parents, and who are the others then?
So then we have all of our founding members. So I have, my husband is on the board, and then the rest of them are, so we have, I think, about 12% interested parties, and the remaining are uninterested parties.
Teachers?
We have majority teachers, probably from this district, actually. I think we have about 1, 2, 3, 1 from Corona, so probably 3 active teachers on the board. We have 1 colonel retired, or a major retired from the military, not retired, but active duty. We have 1 person from the district attorney's office who is an investigator and investigates fraud. We have, what are some of the others? We have someone in planning that's actually on our board, and they were one of the founding members. And then we have someone that's actually in the medical field. She teaches a nursing program for the Riverside, the county.
So are they elected by the members or are they appointed?
They are elected by the appointed according to our charter.
So your members are appointed to the board?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said who are they elected by. So they are elected, not appointed. So the first...
Elected by the parents?
So the charter allowed us as a founding school to seat our first board. So they're seated. Those were appointed.
So they were appointed.
All the other elections are elections. So when those seats come up for election, it's an open election in open format.
And so who votes? The parents or the staff or the
board?
Or
The board members
board
vote.
votes. So it's, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cloud. I have Trustee Allaby.
Thank you. And I had also a question about the board. How often does your board meet then?
We meet once a month.
Once a month, okay. The other question I had is, you have, first of all, I've heard good things. So congratulations. You've had a busy couple of years, and I know you've worked very, very hard. The 45% of your out-of-district school students, where do they come from? Or are they all over? Or are you seeing predominantly, where are you drawing from?
So Corona, Moreno Valley, and the like. We see most of our students from Alvord and Moreno Valley, though. Or we see the interest coming from those areas as well.
Okay.
But then they come from other places, too.
And changing your location probably won't make a difference to those people.
No.
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 Okay. Good. And I would love to know more about Singapore math, Dr. Hanson. I was asked a question about it, and I felt very unprepared to answer. So if someone could give me a little tutorial, I would appreciate that.
If I can just say one little tidbit about it is, like, at first it just seemed very, like, homeschoolish, but the new Hoop Mifflin program is amazing. Just FYI.
Good. Thank you.
Dr. Renee, the next questions are from me. When you came before us back in 2012, I was supportive. I think you, along with our staff, you checked all the boxes. What I was very much interested in, however, I'm disappointed we're still not there, and that is that you had talked about serving our east side. Due to our segregation policies in this district, we have built schools outside of the east side and bused children out. So I was interested in having children not to be bused and have an opportunity with you. I'm glad to hear that you're going to be looking at going over to Grace United. Tell me a little more about your time schedule to get there.
So just a real quick response to that, too, is it's actually been just driven by facilities. We can't find facilities, so that's been it. So that's why we're there. But we have actually started on our I can't say it right now, but the survey for the soil. We started that. So we actually are beginning our conditional use permit process right now. So we've given ourselves an entire year to get that completed, done, approved, get through that entire process so that we can start construction, we believe, by hopefully February at the latest, so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about us moving in come July. July 1 is our projected date to move in.
Next year.
So we are excited about moving toward downtown. And we may lose, when that move, we probably are going to lose people from maybe Corona or some other areas. It's going to be really difficult, but, we'll see what happens.
All right. And so right now you're going to be at the Seventh-day Adventist Church on Arupa, very nice facility. Tell me about this. Board's been very interested in our locations as far as security for the children. How do you handle security that little ones don't wander off and other folks don't wander on?
Right. So at Mount Rubidoux, the entire facility was closed. Mm-hmm. So here at the Riverside Community Church, the part of the facility is closed, and they have some classrooms that are sort of off to the side. So we're installing security cameras and obviously positioning staff in positions that are able to walk the campus and make sure the students are safe, and obviously coming up with a safety plan that that we have in place for the teachers beginning even before. That'll be part of our orientation to talk about what that's going to look like if students have to go to the restroom and things like that. So adults present, cameras for monitoring, including we've spoken to the church about collaborating and paying a portion of to upgrade their security, so that we have a monitor in the reception area, so that we can see 360 degree around our property.
Very good. I would ask that in truth we are your board, and I would ask that you would submit that to Ms. Clowder and make sure that Dr. Lewis has a chance to comment on it, because he is overseeing our security measures. Lastly, I'm sorry. Financial management, is it still the firm that we started with?
EdTech.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the kids were in a picture with Tommy Trojan. I take it that UCLA was closed that day?
I had to do that to you, Mr. Hunt. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I started to wear my USC shirt.
I thought that was quite appropriate.
I know, it was appropriate.
Well, I have the lectern. Thank you, Mrs. Alvey. And very good, Mrs. Dr. Rennie. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your questions.
Get on the east side. That's where this city needs you, and our little ones won't have to be bused. If they have an opportunity, there'll be a choice, and that's where you need to be, is my comment. If there's nothing else from the board, thank you very much, Dr. Rennie.
Thank you so much.
Have you learned a fight song yet, by the way? You have these people here and all, but... Well, yeah. Yeah, well... Okay. All right, Fresno State, go ahead.
Mr. Hunt, Mr. Bruin, Dr. Hanson, and members of the board will continue with the presentations tonight on E2. Again, Mrs. Cowder will introduce this, and our superstar, Joe Nieto, who oversees our early childhood programs, will take you through tonight's program.
Thank you, Mr. Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Fine. Good evening again, Mr. Hunt, Dr. Hanson, and members of the board. Congratulations, Mr. Lee. This evening, we will be presenting you with an update and information regarding our USD's early childhood and family education programs. Following a brief overview, Joe Nieto, our coordinator of early childhood and family services, or as Mr. Fine refers to him as our superstar, will discuss the programs in more detail. Mr. Nieto will end his presentation with the required training on the role of the board in the governance of our federal Head Start programs. So my job is to introduce our topics this evening, and so Joe will detail our early childhood programs, our federal state Head Start programs, and our state preschool. He will discuss the locations of our programs, where they are in our districts. We will also talk about the district plans through the LCAP for expansion and increase in services to our community, discuss our school readiness goals, some student achievement results in letter naming, first sound fluency, and mathematics. He will talk about our family involvement initiatives, our partnerships that we have with the community, and lastly, the role in the governance of our Head Start program. Joe.
That's good. Welcome, Mr. Nieto. I just want to make sure you know that superstar status is only bestowed by the board.
I have a lot to
not by anyone else. So let's see if you can make it.
Oh, all right. No pressure there. Mr. Hunt, Dr. Hanson, members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you a little bit about our early childhood programs. So our offices are located behind Ramona High School. We have four portables in the back parking lot near Don Jones Park. Myself, the coordinator, we have an administrative secretary. Our family services supervisor, Luz Romero, who is my superstar, my right hand, does a lot for our program, and I appreciate her support. We have 6 community assistants. We have a student healthcare specialist, and I'll touch on this later, but we actually have that position funded through a health foundation. Borrego Community Health Foundation actually funds that position for us. So that's a great community partner that we have. We have 823 children on 18 elementary school campuses. We have 22 teachers, and we have 51 instructional assistants. A little bit about our federal Head Start program. This program is federally funded. We received just over $1 million that we're going to receive for 2014-15. The Riverside County Office of Education is the grantee. So the federal government gives the funding to RCOE, which is the grantee, and RUSD is a delegate agency. We have 176 students in our Head Start program. This program is 3.5 hours a day, 4 days a week. On Mondays, the teachers have planning time, and they also do home visits. Home visits are a requirement of Head Start. So the teachers go into the homes, form relationships with parents, and make sure that the parents and the teachers are on the same page about how to help their child. Classrooms are licensed through community care licensing, so we do have an 8-to-1 ratio. In Head Start, there's 1 teacher, 1 instructional assistant, and 16 students. Families must qualify for services based on their income and their family size. Foster and homeless students do have priority, so they get extra points, and we make sure that we enroll our foster and homeless students. And we do have 10% of our students, we have space set aside for 10% of our students that have special needs through an IEP. The other program that we have is state preschool. This is direct funded from the state, just over $2 million for 14-15. Funding was restored. There was a time where state preschool took heavy cuts. The funding was restored, and the family fees were removed. Families, based on their income, did have to pay a fee, and many of our families, this was very hard for them. And we did see a lot of families drop from our program because they were having a hard time paying the fee. The state did away with that as of July 1 this year. Funding is earned based on attendance and enrollment. We have space for 647 students. This program goes 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And again, we are licensed through community care licensing. Although our programs are a kindergarten preparation type of setting, the state still views us as childcare. So even down to every electrical outlet needs to be covered in the classroom. So the rules are very strict for running a preschool classroom. We have an 8-to-1 ratio, 1 teacher, 2 instructional assistants, and 24 students. Foster and homeless students do have priority again, and families must qualify for services. This just gives you an overview really quickly of what sites we have early childhood programs, whether it's a state preschool or a Head Start or both, and how many children we serve at each school site. Program expansion and increase in services. So early childhood is mentioned in the LCAT. We are very pleased about that because we are very confident in our role as a department. We have the data, which you will see, that proves that we are preparing our students for kindergarten and beyond. In the LCAP, we will provide more professional development, training, and coaching for our teachers. We are exploring a sliding scale for ineligible families based on income. We want to try to find a way that families that do not qualify for services but are just barely over the cap, they may not qualify, but if they pay a minimal fee, then we can offer more services to them. So we are exploring that this school year. We are looking into a dual language immersion pre-K program. We want to increase services in underserved areas. We do not have any sites in the Woodcrest area, and there is still a need up there. There are many families that could benefit from our services. The closest that we have is our preschool at EOC. We are looking into an early impact program, which used to be our CalSafe program. And we have met with the new principal at Lincoln High School, and we are meeting on Wednesday to discuss how we can get this program back. It will be an infant and toddler program. We will expand and integrate community partnerships. I will share a slide later on. We have made a lot of partnerships within the community, and we want to do even more. And we want to expand engagement opportunities for our parents. So our school readiness goals. In the world of early childhood education, we use the DRDP, which is the Desired Results Developmental Profile. And there are 43 measures that we track for each student. Within those 43, we've really talked with the teachers and the parents, and we've come up with our school readiness goals. So we really focus on these areas when we're tracking and working with our students. Recognition of their own skills and accomplishments. We want to really instill positive self-esteem and an I-can-do attitude in our young learners, because that will serve them well as they move on to kindergarten and beyond. Impulse control. It's very important that we teach our students how to control their impulses. When they walk into that kindergarten classroom and they have some background and training and experience with controlling themselves, they're going to be much better off in that kindergarten setting. Expression of self through language. We want our students to express themselves through language. Phonological awareness. We want to make sure that our students walk into that kindergarten classroom already having strong phonological awareness. Letter and word knowledge. Emergent writing. When we think about Common Core, we want to instill the concept of cause and effect. We want to make sure that our students can problem solve, that we work on their memory and knowledge, their curiosity and initiative, and their engagement and persistence. And they are not too young to get a jump start on those skills, as well as fine motor skills. So looking at our data, we did give the DIBELS assessment. We gave a version of the beginning of the year Kinder's DIBELS assessment, the same assessment that students are given within the first month of kindergarten. And at the end of the year, 64% of our students scored core, 18% scored strategic, and 18% scored intensive. With those students that did not score core, we piloted a summer intervention program at Longfellow and Jefferson, where we invited the parents and the child to come in during the summer, and the teachers work with them with skills and activities that they could do at home, so that the parents can continue to work out throughout the summer with them, and when they enter kindergarten, we would like them to score core. And from there, they would be on track to reading by third, and I know that's one of our school board goals. In mathematics, we give a assessment derived from Envision, beginning of the year kindergarten Envision assessment, and we found that 74% of our students were core, 21% were strategic, and 5% were intensive. So we're very proud of our staff and our teachers, and our main mission is to make sure that when our students walk through that kindergarten door, they have a head start. Family involvement. Family involvement is very important to our program. We have our Dad's University program, and this is not just a preschool initiative. We reach out to fathers and meet with them monthly, fathers of preschoolers, kindergartners, and first graders. And the reason that I say those grades is because our topics are geared towards our youngest learners. We have the Latino Family Literacy Project, which we put on at sites, where families, parents come in and receive training on how to read a book at home. They take the book home, read with their children, and then bring the book back the following week, and they receive a new book. We have parent volunteers, policy councils. Our parents are very involved in decisions and where our program is going. We have site trainings, home visits, goal setting, and resource matching. We offer multiple parenting classes through our partnership with Set for School, County Mental Health, and First Five. We offer free courses, Triple P Parenting, Incredible Years Parenting, pro-social groups, PCIT, which is Parent-Child Interaction Therapy, and this summer we have a summer intervention program. So when parents come in to enroll their children, they'll tell us, I'm having a hard time with my child. I'm not sure how to handle this behavior. We actually offer parenting classes during the summer so that parents can help bring that structure to the home, so when they walk into the classroom, there will be a smooth transition. Partnerships. As mentioned before, we have many partnerships. Borrego Health has been a great partner. They reimburse us for our nurse's salary. So that does not come out of our budget. County Mental Health and First 5 Riverside offer the Set for School program. Our families can get free parenting support and therapy if needed. Riverside Community Health Foundation offers free dental screenings and courses for parents in nutrition. We have started the Riverside Family Learning Collaborative, where we meet once a month, and about 20 members of different community agencies meet with us, and we talk about different services that we can offer to our families at no charge. We have seen an increased articulation with K-12, a very good articulation with the school sites and the instructional department. We've started a child study team, which is our version of SST. If there's a student who's struggling socially or academically, we converge as a team. We have school psychologists on board, we have a pediatrician, and we have multiple therapists. And we get together, talk about the student and the family, and then we offer services to help them. And we've also started the preschool attendance review team. We know that the school attendance review board, the SARB, starts at first grade, but what we're finding is that we have students that are missing way too many days in preschool. That's already starting a trend that we want to stop right away. So as soon as families reach a certain day of absences, we converge as a team and we meet with the parent, similar to what a SARB is, and we try to support the family to improve their attendance. So shifting gears a little bit, that's a little background about our program. And now we come to Head Start governance. As the board, you are the governing board of our Head Start program. We also have our policy committee, which is composed of parents at each school site, which are elected by the parents at their site, and they meet with me as a committee once a month at my office. We also have the governance committee, which Ms. Cloud comes, and she is the representative of the board, and there's also 3 principals at Head Start sites, and we talk about all of the happenings in our program, we look at data, and we look at program governance. Head Start regulations require that certain decisions and items are approved by the governing board. And all of these items are outlined in Appendix A+, which is on the following 2 slides. Appendix A+ outlines the approvals required by Head Start boards and policy councils. And there is a required governing board training, which I will give you briefly tonight. And we will partake in a federal review this coming school year. So the county will be met by a federal review team, and they will create a schedule and come out and visit. Appendix A is very busy. Pretty much Appendix A outlines what needs to be approved by the governing board and what needs to be approved by the policy council, which is the parents. Knowing that this document is very busy, I tried to break it down. So required monthly reports. The board is expected to receive a monthly report, which you will start receiving every month. And the report outlines our budget for Head Start, our USDA meals and snacks. In other words, you will receive a report outlining how many meals that we ordered from nutrition services and how many meals were served. It will outline our program information summaries, and it will outline our enrollment reports. So that will be given to you monthly, I believe, as a consent item. Annual approvals. Annual approvals include the Head Start planning procedures, our program goals and objectives, our child recruitment selection procedures, our funding application, which includes our procedures and our goals, our self-assessment and corrective action plan, which is also included in the yearly funding application, financial audit. That is actually the entire district's financial audit, which you already receive updates on that, and strategic planning and needs assessment. So those are the annual approvals. As needed approvals include revisions to personnel policies and procedures, which are district-wide, and any hiring or termination of the Head Start director coordinator. One-time approvals include code of conduct, conflicts of interest statements, procedures for complaints and investigations. Again, those are included in our entire RUSD board policies. Many of these things that I'm going over are district-wide, and you receive those updates or approve changes as needed already. Our policy committee bylaws, policy defining the roles and responsibilities for implementing a high-quality program, shared governance procedures, dispute resolution and impasse procedures, procedures to resolve complaints, conduct investigations, and financial management and reporting policies. And again, all of these are covered in our district board policies already. And that is how I will conclude. Do you have any questions or comments?
Joe, we do, and I would ask the first question is from Trustee Kathy Allaby.
Thank you. I have a couple. First of all, is there a waiting list to get into our preschool programs?
As of now, we are still enrolling, and we are doing all calls at the school sites to make sure that we're getting enough parents coming in. Our theory is that the family fees are still in the minds of a lot of our community members.
Okay.
And even when we go out to the parks, we'll send a team of my staff to the parks for the Summer Feeds program and talk to parents out there. And the first thing that parents tell us, oh, I'm not sure I can pay a fee. And so we have to let them know that the fees are completely gone.
Okay. And the qualifications to get into Head Start and our state program, are they different?
Yes. For Head Start, there are a lot of factors, and there's a lot of factors to look at when you're meeting with a family. But I believe that just a general number, a family of 4 would be $21,000 a year or less to qualify for Head Start. And for state preschool, a family of 4 would be $46,000.
So when we're looking to expand it, we're looking...
For those families that don't qualify,
Yeah.
if we can raise the cap a little bit and offer more services. Because many of the families come in and they're just over that.
Oh, yeah, I know. And that's really sad.
And many of our families, it's hard for them to afford private preschool.
And how can we get a preschool up in the Woodcrest area? That interests me a lot, so...
This year we will explore it. It has
Okay.
to do with space and where our families are coming from.
Okay.
But I do believe that we can easily house a preschool up there. But again, it comes down to space and facilities.
We should utilize the help of that Woodcrest advisory group that's up there. They're quite active. I'm very impressed with them, so I'll
I
try
would
to
be
get
very
you
interested in
connected
that.
with them. And finally, I know that the infant program at Lincoln suffered from lack of participation, and that was part of the problem with our keeping it. And so when you talk about restoring it, how are we going to make sure that there's enough usage of it to warrant our spending that kind of money on it?
We've already spoken to the principal there, and she is very interested, and we've already actually come up with a plan to make sure that we will not run into the same issues.
Okay.
It's all about communication, making sure that the staff there is going out and recruiting teen parents, and then also making sure that we have good communication with high school counselors, making sure that we hook up students with services.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and we may open it up to community members as well
Oh,
to make sure that the classroom's at full capacity.
okay.
But we will give students, teen parents, first priority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allaby. Next is Trustee Lee, and also an interested parent, I'm sure.
Yeah, a few questions. So how is the number for like Head Start and for the state preschool determined? You have 176 and
Yes.
640 something, I think.
It's based on our application from the county. That's how many slots they give us. They do know that we are very interested in early Head Start, and those are services for 0 to 3-year-olds, home-based services. So that's something that we are a part of the county's grant to increase our numbers.
And previously, I know we're still enrolling this year. Have we reached our cap in previous years?
We have until the fees came along.
Okay.
And we're still trying to demystify the entire family
So what
fee.
are we doing to get the word out to parents
We're-
besides going to parks?
We're going to the parks. We're putting out information to the parents. What we do is we talk to our parents right now that just ended the school year, making sure that they spread the word, and we make sure that all of our flyers now say free preschool. and family fees do not apply.
Okay. And then the other two things I was interested in, you said you were going to look into a dual immersion pre-K program.
Yes.
What does looking into mean?
This year is an exploration year. We are working with the dual language immersion programs right now that are in place, and we'd like to find a spot where there is a kindergarten dual immersion program, and we can place a preschool program there. But this year is our planning year, so this year is the year to explore and see where that would be, and then the following school year we'd like to put it into place.
Okay. And then the last thing you had mentioned, looking at a sliding scale for ineligible families based on income, and that's something that I think is really interesting. And not just for the families that are just over, because I think that when you create these programs, it's almost like, I don't know if it's politically correct to say, but it's like economic segregation. So you're not giving the kids that are from these poverty homes an opportunity to learn from other kids that are not from those homes. And I think that those kids can learn a lot from one another, both ways.
Yes.
And so are there stipulations based on those federal grants or those state grants that prohibits that?
If we were to implement something through our LCAP, we would not have to follow federal or state guidelines. It would be our program, and we would create slots through LCAP to integrate into the programs that we already have.
What we believe, and we're looking at the county on this, we believe that our Head Start classes would probably need to remain pure because that's federal funding and that's federal poverty level. But I think we can, what we call co-locate our preschool classes in that we could have some paid kids and some preschool kids. And we do believe that they need to be integrated, and nobody should know which are their paid kids and which are not the paid kids. So that's why we've kind of taken those. Absolutely. And we've taken those things, and I think our vision is in the future to maybe even have full paid preschool in that our USD, because we do have a fine instructional program, and I put it against any other program in the city for preschool. And so I would like to, that's kind of
do we have the facilities to expand to something like that?
That's
a challenge.
A challenge, right. But right now we have all of our sites at our school sites, which are best because they kind of feed in and we get our parents. You know, if you look at our PTAs and our school site councils and our ELACs, I think a lot of those people were preschool parents because they began as policy council members. And Joe has gotten them, you know, especially I think you're going to see an increase in dad's involvement since we've had the Dad's University too. So it's all in the planning stages.
Great. That's exciting to hear. And it doesn't sound like it's a problem at this point because it doesn't sound like we're having this huge waiting list of parents. But I'm glad that we're tracking attendance too, because I would hate to see a kid who's not showing up for class, especially we have limited spots taking up for somebody that is trying to get in. So.
And we can't let that get ahead of us. We can't wait until first grade to starve children. Yeah. And we want to make sure that we nip it in the bud right away.
Right. Well, thank you. Thanks for the report. It was very informative.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for those questions. Trustee Cloud, and also a member of their guidance board.
Well, I would just say, and I do know how hard they work. They do a tremendous job, and the partnerships that Joe has made and Gloria have really improved the program, especially since these last few years have been pretty lean ones, and they've gotten pretty creative. And for Borrego to pay the nurse is pretty impressive. So I want to give a shout out to you and Luz and all of those, because they have to go almost person by person to sign up. It's a lengthy process that's pretty invasive, and she takes some abuse sometimes. She's a tough lady, so really you do and she does a tremendous job. But I do have a couple of questions, clarifications. On the CalSafe idea,
yes.
Birth to 3, would that be for students only in RUSD, or for would you have to be a student?
Students will have first priority, and then depending on space, we would open it up to the community based on need.
Okay, that's interesting. And you should know too, the Head Start programs, there was even some concern that it was so cumbersome that it might not be worth the paper that we have to fill out, but they hung on, and we got through the other side. It's very regulated.
It is.
With that said about, Casey Angulo, have you talked to Casey Riverside Life Services? Because they're seeing young pregnant moms regularly, and that might be a good outlet for the 0 to 3. I know that she talks regularly to, who's our dropout? Ozzy? Jaime.
May Ochoa.
Yeah, Jaime. So that's a good contact. And the last question comment I have is, what are you making progress with the Casablanca preschool? Are you still in touch with them? I want you to know that they've reached out to the program there, but
We do have a partnership with Casablanca Home of the Neighborly Service, and we have invited them to our trainings and trying to collaborate with them as much as we can, because we know that all their students will be entering our kindergarten classrooms. So we want to make sure, whether they're in our program or another preschool program in the city, we want to make sure that we work together, because the ultimate goal is for those kids to come in ready.
and they have made it a very, I would say academic, but I don't mean that there's no play, but it's very focused on the beginning learning skills.
We've also, if you notice, one of the goals, and when Joe talked about the LCAP, is we talked about underserved areas of our city. Casablanca does have a Head Start, and Head Start is so much more restrictive in their qualification, and we have a lot of working families in Casablanca that don't necessarily qualify for the Head Start because they are earning an income. They're the working challenged families that would qualify for a preschool. So I think that might fit into that other explored underserved areas of the city as far as preschool.
Well, I just wanted to make sure
there's
you're
nothing to announce or anything like that, but that's on our list in addition to the Woodcrest.
But
area
you're
that we
still
talked
kind
about
of,
earlier.
that's on your radar.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for all of your hard work, and especially since I have a little bit of knowledge of it, and I wanted to share with my fellow board members the hard work that they do. We should get an annual report. We should be trained, and that hasn't really been done. This is the training, and I appreciate Joe and Gloria for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Cloud. I agree. How long have you served on this governing board for us?
I don't know, since March, probably 3-4 years, maybe.
We appreciate it, and I think that we should have that training. All right, Joe, I can bestow on you, I'll tell you what, I'll bestow on you Shining Star.
Okay.
And we'll give you Superstar when you and Mr. Fine and Ms. Clowder get Woodcrest, Casablanca, and dual language done.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair? Is that a deal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shine on, friend. That was a very good report. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanson. Up next we have from Dr. Lewis. And I have a question about Dr. Lewis can talk about summer work projects. Dr. Lewis, this facilities challenge that Ms. Clowder talked about and all for these programs, could that be included in a GO bond?
Yes.
Very much so. I mean, it seems to me a very good selling point. And I would think that, Dr. Hanson, that the fees issue that Mr. Lee brought up, if we could partner with our churches, I'm sure Mrs. Paul can look at getting it on our website, perhaps seeing the story with the Press Enterprise would do well. You've had a busy summer, Dr. Lewis. You and your staff want to tell us about it?
Yes, Dr. Hanson, Mr. Hunt, members of the board, I would like to share with you just a brief review of the projects that we have ongoing this summer. As you'll see, there's a comprehensive list of projects. We're not going to go through all those, but I will break those down into a summary by category, and then we'll follow up and finish off and spin through some photos of some representative projects. What you see here is the beginning of the list of the projects that we have underway, and I want to point out that this format and this type of report is a project listing that our operations division managers review each month in our regular meetings. We put all the projects on a page like this so everyone is on the same schedule. They know what's going on. We can coordinate work, and we won't have projects running on top of each other. We also list all these projects and review it with our group so that if there's any suggestions for other type of work that might be included in the scope, we can do that and make a better project. These projects range from maintenance work to new construction to modernization type work and specialized projects. You'll see that some are in design, some are out to bid. Most of them are in construction. You can see the duration time frames at the end of the slide. Every manager in our operations division is involved in managing these projects, whether the projects are being performed by in-house staff or by contractors. So I'll just spin through a number of these projects. And just a quick summary, as I said, we have 45 projects that are ongoing. It represents $13 million worth of work. Funding sources range from Measure B to M&O general fund dollars to state funding. In terms of groups of projects, the maintenance projects include painting. The painting, we can only afford to do painting at multipurpose rooms and kitchens, so you'll see that's limited to 6 sites in this report. Roofing is limited to only certain buildings, and those are restricted to those that require us to do recoating of the building roofs in order to maintain our roofing warranties. The big project is the Liberty Classroom Wing Addition. It's a $6 million project. Along with that, as far as new work, and the one that you're probably most interested in, besides the Liberty project, is the 15 sites that are receiving projects to secure the entrances of our schools. These were fast-tracked to get them all done this summer. All the projects are scheduled to be completed before school, with the exception of some cleanup work. But in terms of access of students and visitors and parents, there's not going to be any problems or issues with that. One exception I did want to bring to your attention is at Jefferson Elementary School. When we were doing the demolition work to remove this old storefront, we found structural components that were not on the as-built plans. So the new storefront had to be redesigned, and it's going to be late in its delivery and take us into the first part of the school year. Kevin has been contacting principals as they return back from their vacation. He's worked specifically with Maria Ortega. They're developing contingency plans, and rest assured, if we need to provide additional staff to be at those sites or any of the sites to provide some extra help and supervision, we'll have that for them. So we'll be ready for a great opening at all of our schools. The other groups of projects, we have Athletic Facilities Master Plan, what we call pickup projects. So those projects we've done at Poly, we've done at Arlington and at Ramona. I think everyone saw that there's a little bit of this or a little bit that just was not quite completed, or not that it wasn't completed, but it was not included in the project because of funding. So what we've done, we've put together packages for those 3 schools that we would go back and make them as whole as possible. So we did a little painting here, improved like softball diamonds at Poly. Maybe some gates could be a better location. So we've done those things to improve the overall project. So what I'd like to do is just spin through some quick photos here. These are samples of our campus access and security upgrades. The one that's pretty impressive or for you to look at is the storefront that you see at the lower right. That's at Magnolia, but that's typical with storefronts that we are changing out at those schools where you need to add another door that would allow for parents and visitors to enter. There'll be a gate that goes right down the center so that once they come in, they enter the other door to enter into the campus. That condition will pretty much be what we'll see at Jefferson at the beginning of the school year until the new storefront arrives and
May I
can be
ask a
installed.
quick question before you move?
Sure.
Pardon me, Board, but the Magnolia Elementary fencing, is that along Magnolia School? Is that along Magnolia?
It's along Magnolia, and it's also along the front of the school.
So that's where, behind the historical...
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Fence, I should say, wall. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
The next projects, Liberty Elementary School, you see the finishes are being applied to both the exterior and interior. It's looking very nice. The painting projects represented here are the multi-purpose rooms at Pachappan Mountain View. I'd like to really showcase a project that our M&O hardscape crew have done. It's not only the flat work, but you'll see the planters with seat walls that are, those are formed pretty much freehand with plywood, and the cuts for the skateboard, to prevent skateboarding is also put in there. So that's a lot of work. It's a good job for our staff, and that's come up very well. For the roofing projects, this is the typical re-roofing project. It's actually replacing the aluminum oxide coating, the reflective coating, to get us more life on those roofs. And as I mentioned, the athletic facilities pickup projects, you see some representative work that's ongoing at those schools. That's pretty much it.
I have one question from Trustee Cloud.
Well, hopefully, I just, quick answer. First of all, I want to say thank you that I see several lighting projects, and that's always been one of my pet issues, and I'm glad that we're addressing some of that. Just real quickly, in the baseball backdrop for Arlington, that's not on here. What did we decide to do about that? Is that to put up more protection from the balls going in the railroad tracks?
Yes, Mr. Hunt and Mrs. Alvey requested that we get a proposal for the cost of design, an extension of that backstop, with the understanding that there's no backstop in the world that's going to stop every foul ball. And so we'll be bringing that back for their review and approval at the next meeting.
So that'll come back?
Yes.
Okay, one more quick question about Polly. I see that the bulkhead is on here, and I know we have air conditioning issues at Polly. Are we doing anything with that, and we're going through with the bulkhead?
The bulkhead was approved by the board to take it out to bid, and the funding was made available with Measure B. So that the bids are out. We should be bringing those in pretty soon. It's a pretty quick installation once we get those in.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure if we had, okay.
Yeah.
And then about the air conditioning issue?
Yes, that's we have a number of issues. The primary one right now is the 600-wing chiller plant that needs to be replaced. We're in the design process for that. It's over $2 million worth of work. That work we hope will have designed, DSA approved, and ready for construction next summer.
And how would that be paid?
Right now, we have funds set aside, some funds from carryover, some Measure B funds may be applied as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. We have a question from Trustee Alvey.
I just want to know simply what punch walk means.
Punch walk means that we walk the project after it's completed, and we look for anything that's not to our satisfaction, whether it's quality or something that's just not completed in our opinion.
So does this mean when you're talking about paint exterior trim that you've already painted it, you're just checking it to make sure it was painted now?
And if we find flaws, we document and inventory those flaws. Contractor must come back and correct.
Okay. Thank you. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Sorry about that.
Dr. Lewis, would you I have a question. Just explain the Prop 39 that Reggie's overseeing in the modulars and EOC.
Prop 39 was specialized funding for energy-efficient projects for schools. We identified two types of projects. One is replacing the BARD units. It's the air conditioning units that are pretty much bolted onto portables and provide air conditioning and heating. We can get a very good savings because the BARD units of today are much better as far as energy efficiency. So by replacing those out, and it's pretty quick. You can imagine it's almost like you unbolt, you take off the electrical, you bring in the new one, bolt on everything, and you're pretty much in business. Along with that, we have a project for similar energy savings, and that is delamping the lights inside those portable classrooms. We can get higher efficiency lighting with a mirror inside. It's a retrofit that focuses more light down on the learning surfaces. We can literally delamp a classroom by half with higher energy efficient bulbs. So that's what we have. It's going to apply to only 4 schools at this point, but we'll have more bites at the apple in the future years.
And this is your opportunity to recognize your staff that's been working on these projects in the hot year if you want to. It's up to you.
Kevin?
Mr. Hauser, I see you here.
I think Kevin's it.
No, and Haley's back there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Haley made it.
Kevin's it.
She wasn't in today, so I didn't know.
Well, thank you all for the work you've done. The board appreciates it. All right. That leads us to our board member comments. And please include F2 in your comments if you have agenda items for future meetings, but we'll get there. I'm going to go based on seniority on the board. Our dean, Mrs. Cloud, is this now 17 or just feels like it?
No, you're ahead of me. 15, 14.
15, all right.
Depends how you look at it. 14, 15.
Go ahead, Ms. Cloud.
I remember the little blurb I read about the Vietnamese Chinese student about math and how he excelled at math. Well, lo and behold, I ordered his book. It's called Where the Wind Heads. His name is Vinh Chung. That's Vietnamese Chinese. And I don't know if you look at the newspaper anymore, if anybody takes the newspaper anymore, but in Parade magazine there was an article about him drifting toward hope, and it was this very person, and I thought it was so inspiring because this is the American dream. He said, "We arrived with nothing, unable to speak a word of English. My father went to work in a fiberglass factory, earning $90 a week to support a family of 10. And then they have, of his, I think he's got 6 siblings. Anyway, they hold 6 doctorates, 5 master's degrees from schools such as Harvard, Yale, Georgetown, University of Pennsylvania, and NYU. He went to Harvard and became a doctor. So, there's a lot to be proud of about our American education system, who really takes all comers. And not unlike what I said earlier, Mr. Martin brought up, when you look at Finland and when you look at some of the others, they exclude certain students. The Chinese don't educate handicapped students. It's just a whole different mindset. And so there's something to be said for the liberty and freedom that comes in the American education system. And I can say the summer is going way too fast, and I'm leaving for out of town tomorrow, so I will miss all the fun back to school beginning things. And I wish my colleagues well.
Thank you for those insights, Mrs. Cloud. Mrs. Allaby, Trustee Allaby.
Thank you. Talking about Woodcrest reminded me that I need Dr. Lewis to look into an issue that the Woodcrest Advisory Group brought up. Apparently, Woodcrest Elementary School has terrible traffic. At least if you go by Woodcrest Advisory Group standards, it's terrible traffic with parents and pickup. And they brought to my attention the fact that the lot across the street is for sale, and they want you to buy it and make it a parking lot. All I want you to do is look into it and find out what the status is, and I really appreciate it. And then I have a little gift for all of you that I'm going to hand out. It's I gave a gift to all of my STEM committee for all their hard work, and I would like to give you each one of these gifts because you have been so supportive with the whole STEM committee process. I really appreciate it, so I've got a little gift to pass out. Even you get one, Dr. Hanson, because you came on just on time. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Allaby.
You're very welcome.
That's very sweet. I'll use that sparkly pencil somewhere, I'm sure.
You're welcome. I'm done.
And thank you, Mrs. Allaby. Mr. Lee, your service is like your children in months, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, just
What,
not
was
quite
it
a year yet.
7 months, is it now?
8 months now.
8
9
months. Well, please go ahead, sir.
Just a few quick things. Thanks to everybody that emailed, text, gifts for now a family of 5. And Amelia was here this morning, so wanted to bring her and share her with you because I'm really proud of her and my 2 kids. They hadn't been here since my swearing in, so they had a fun time before everybody got here, running around stage, and took them into the basement to get a cookie. So they were happy. Just want to comment again on preschool. I was really excited to read that report when we got it ahead of time, and then to be able to ask some questions. Preschool is like my thing. I think that if kids get into preschool, a lot of our issues are going to work themselves out. And I want to make sure that every single spot is full. And especially if you think the issue is now that parents are worried about fees, getting the word out every way possible. And I'm sure you guys have thought of a lot of these things. I was just jotting a few down. Talk to Riverside Public Utilities, because I'm sure all these kids' parents are utility users, I would hope, and putting an insert in there. Shopping centers where these families live, going to the grocery store, even a volunteer can sit out there with the table and let them know. I'm sure a lot of these people are receiving county services, talking to those services and getting out there. The electronic billboards from the city, and then again with our neighborhood groups. We have a lot of organized neighborhood groups that meet on an ongoing basis, and they like to talk and share information with people. So I think those would be all good ways to get preschool out. And then, Dr. Hanson, maybe you can help me with this. For the REACH Academy, I've heard a lot of, like you said, Ms. Allaby, good things from REACH, and I met with parents. that love the school and the administration there, but I know very little about it. So I don't know if there's a way I can get information from when the original charter, or whatever it's called, when they presented to the board before I was here. And also, I'd like to see some more measurable data from the school. I didn't see any hard numbers about how they're performing, and it was a short presentation, so maybe she didn't have an opportunity to expand upon it. I didn't see how they were doing things that much differently than the way we're doing them. And they did say that they were STEAM, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. So any information that maybe we have on file that we could get from her, I'd like to see. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Good comments. Well, Dr. Hanson, you can report to President Locke Dawson. I didn't run the thing off the rails in my only meeting. Please tell her, though, that mine and Mr. Fine's idea to make tonight Aloha Night was turned down by the board. So we had to wear suits and all. Just a couple quick. Mrs. Allaby, you brought up something last week I thought was so good about it. You saw an art show for kids. You were somewhere and it was an art gallery that had student art. Did I dream that? Special ed. I wanted to tell you and perhaps our VAPA, California Baptist University rents a space on Main Street, which should be just across from Wells Fargo next to Mezcal. Currently, for the next 2 weeks, they have the Art of Harvest Christian Fellowship and all that. But I just stopped in and talked to the young lady. They change it every 2 weeks, and perhaps that's something we could do with our kids, special ed and others, to show our art. So just to let you all know that. Along with many others, including Mrs. Allaby's President Raincross, have been involved the last week or so, 2 weeks, on just trying to help some at the City Hall restore stability, decorum, a cohesive vision, a client, we call them students and parents, they call them citizens, priority type of place. You know what I've come to see there? I mean, there's a lot of finger pointing and all, but it made me really appreciate it's the process that is broken down. And that's all, as you've heard me say before, in democracy, all we can really count on is not the politicians and the players, but the process. And I think that I think we have a very strong history of process here, a good staff that we respect and that respect us and work with the electeds. And I know Dr. Hanson, as he talked about when he first came aboard, is going to be hardening that process and refining it. And I'm proud to serve with all of you. I was before I got involved in this closer look into the city, but I'm even more proud, and it is unique, unfortunately, that staff and electeds work together cooperatively in a client-focused organization. I have your indulgence for a short video. I do it in two parts. First of all, Mr. Lee, welcome to the world of being a parent of a daughter, and all of us up here are. We'll teach you the secret handshake later. It's your hand over your heart and gasping when you see her go off sometimes, particularly when she drives or rides that bike or a lot of things. But this little video reminded me prejudice comes in many guises. Of course, race, religion, social status. It also comes in gender. Our RCTA has decided to become a student-focused union. Congratulations on that. I'm very pleased to hear that. I'd like us to be whenever we can, a district that encourages young ladies and that there is no ceiling. So this is for you, Mr. Lee.
Hi, Erin. Hi. Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do, and just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. My hair. Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl. Aww.
My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swim like a girl?
Keep doing it, because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. It doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl, because I am a girl. And that's not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm going to do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
Thank you, Mr. Schreck. Let's be a district like a girl. And I'm going to read, we're going to close tonight's meeting in honor of two ladies. I only have a short item on this one. Miss Marilyn Van Sant Harvey, former RUSD employee. And then I think this deserves a little more because it's given more, but Manette Louise Tomlinson, age 97. She was a teacher for over 20 years at Harrison Elementary in Riverside. But just to show you that teachers don't just live inside the classroom, she was a music lover. She played the trumpet as well as the piano. She was part of the Riverside Symphony, the community players, and lots more. She raised 6 children. And many activities included her church choir, youth groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, and more. And her husband, she's predeceased by her husband, C. Bruce Tomlinson, who played a string instrument in Riverside, and he might have been your teacher, it says here. So we're going to close in honor of those 2 fine girls, and I wish you, and we'll see each other again when there's a lot of kids around. Good night.